Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cash That. This is your host, Joe Delara, and this is the playoff preview episode. We've got a couple of the series set in stone, so I had to bring on Brandon Anderson. But before we get to Brandon, we are going to say thank you again to our good friends at Rhythm. This episode is brought to you by Rhythm, the #1 AI betting tool in the market. I know a lot of you guys, maybe this is the first time you're tuning into the podcast for the season because you're like, oh, it's the NBA playoffs. I got to come out of basketball betting retirement. I need to go start here. And look, if you don't know anything, at least have a tool in your pocket. So get a free week of Rhythm on me and just go in. We have player prop projections, spread projections, total projections, money line projections, everything that you could want. And we've got baseball, we've got golf too. We have everything. So if you don't know, at least let somebody else with like an AI generated model help you out and get it for free week down here in the bio. But if you have a little bit more time, which I'm sure you do because you're listening to this, now you get to listen to a little bit of a preview with myself and Brandon Anderson. So Brandon, it's been a minute since you've been on the pod. How are you doing? And I'm excited to have you on now. We decided to just say fuck it to this Magic Hawks game.
Yeah, I think we single-handedly saved the game. It was like a 21-point game, and now it's down to 6 now that we decided to record. So maybe the people out there, as we record, maybe people are getting a good game out of this finally. Perhaps the last good game that the Magic and Hawks will play at any point this season.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
honestly, Hawks are always live for like one random stupid
that's
game.
true.
So
That's fair. Yeah, I think the Hawks are 2-1 against Cleveland and Boston somehow this year. So sure, why not?
yeah,
I'm good. I get to rock the Bulls hoodie today for the one time all season.
let's go.
This is it, Joe. Playing. We made it to the peak of the season for Chicago Bulls. Yeah. I'm excited to dig in, and this week right now is like one of my favorites of the year for the NBA season. It's like you got all the data from all year long, you get the new matchups, get to dig in and kind of set up your playoff futures and figure your portfolio. And yeah, this is good stuff.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't made that a reversible Bulls Kings hoodie for you. So maybe in the off season. But so I just want to give a roadmap to everybody before we dive into the episode. We're going to give best bets for the play-in tournament, Heat, Bulls, Mavs, Kings, like really quickly for today's games, the Wednesday games. And then we're going to dive into the playoff series that we know are happening. So we're going to talk Lakers, Wolves, Clippers, Nuggets, Pistons, Knicks, Pacers, Bucks. We thought we were going to be talking Celtics, Magic. We'll see how we're recording. This is like towards the end of the third quarter now. We might have some thoughts on whatever team, seems to be leading against the Boston Celtics, but I'm sure it's going to be short. So let's dive into the play-in. We have the Heat versus your Chicago Bulls, Brandon, and there's no Michael Jordan here to save them. However, do have a couple reasons, I think, to be giddy. This team has put up a million threes, and the Miami Heat honestly look terrible lately. They just look atrocious. I have to write the props article for this. I was generally leaning the Bulls. I think that the pace that they play with, I think that they had a lot of development over the course of the season. Zealous looks pretty solid. Vucevic is still putting up numbers, but Giddey has looked incredible, honestly. And he has torched Miami. So he scored 24, 26, and 28 points in his last 3 matchups against Miami. His points props at 17.5. I don't want to like overthink it, but I was looking at that and I was looking at over 36.5 PRA, going over it in really all 3 of those games as well. Do you have any thoughts on this game or like a spot that you might want to look at? Or is this kind of like, well, I hope the Bulls lose so they get a better draft pick?
No, I mean, this is the peak season. Like, this is what the Bulls play all year for. So you got to root for the Bulls to win a game. Why not? This is what they're here for. I like the Giddey play, Mr. March. We get to the end of the season.
Yeah.
Making the contract push. And, I think it's low-key an important game for him. You got to show, everybody knows we doubt him in a playoff series, but he's got to show at least in a play-in game that he can show up and make some plays and like earn the paycheck. Otherwise, you have a bad game. That's the last thing in the owner's mouth before you got to go try to get the contract after that. So that's a good spot for him. So home court in the play-in, home court in this in the non-elimination game. So like the Friday game where it's determining the 8th seed, not counting that, home team is 12-4 so far in 4 years of play-in data. So that stat by the time you listen will be outdated. Count in for Tuesday night's games. But home team 75% is a pretty good win rate, considering this is basically priced as a coin flip right now. And the 10 seed has never made it out of the play-in, which that's fine. They could beat Chicago, not make it out of the play-in. However, they're 2-8 all time, 2 wins in 2023 in this game, the 9-10. But when they lose, 8 losses by the 10 seed are by an average of 15 points. And all but one by double-digit points. Oh, Chicago takes a ton of threes. If the shots are falling, if you're the 10 seed, you're just like, get us out of here. Like, we're not coming back. We're not going on the road to win another game just to go get lambasted by the 1 seed. Just roll over and play dead. So I think I don't mind just a Chicago play, take the home team, but I think you can play an alt also. Like, if you like Chicago, take like the -10, take a double-digit win, and just get Miami out of here.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Chicago's that plays with a style between the pace and the threes that they can not only beat anybody, but they can kind of win by a big number at any point in time. And I also like, as part of this, I like Kobe White over 2.5 threes. He's going to play 30 minutes. Like, he's going to play 30, 35 minutes, and he gets him up against Miami. His last 2 games against Miami, he's actually made 0, but he's taken like 8 threes in both games. So I do think that there's an opportunity here where we're getting a little bit of like a buy low on him because of that recent history against Miami. I just am kind of all over Chicago in this spot. So I'm looking for that type of correlation. So I might want like a Chicago -10, Giddy triple double, and Kobe White like 4 threes type of play. And like, it's fat, but it's also, I know you guys are going to want to have action on these games. There's 2 games on this slate. So try not to overexpose yourself with a million props in the same game. The next spot, we have the Mavericks versus the Kings. So this obviously fits that trend that you had where the home team would win, being Sacramento. The thing is, with Dallas, they've had so many injuries, and they've kind of revamped the team. Obviously, there was a bad Nico Harrison, like, off the record, on the record interview on Tuesday. Defense wins championships. Does defense win in the play-in is the real question. Like, do you think that Dallas, because of like having Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, everybody's kind of healthy right now, do you think that they have a little bit more of a chance than like your typical 10 seed?
I mean, I think so. Certainly, compare Dallas to Miami, for example. There's no question who the better team is between those. The problem is they're also playing not the East 9 seed, you're playing the West 9 seed. And it's not like we really think that highly of the Kings, but like you said, the Kings are the Bulls. The Kings are built for the play-in. They're gonna, like, you got to beat the Kings still. We're not going to heap praises on Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis. Like, these are good players. Like, these are good quality players that are in the play-in specifically because they can beat the other mediocre and bad teams, which is what Dallas is. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I do think Dallas has a little more runway here. I don't think Dallas has more runway to win twice and get into the playoffs. Yeah, the other note that I had on the trends, if Dallas did get this win, on the Friday night game, if we get anything other than the 8 versus the 9, so either the 7 seed lost Tuesday or the 10 seed won, so it's not just a 1 seed difference. We've only had 3 of those. The favored home team is 3-0, all wins by 7 or more points, average margin 14.3. So I think if Dallas does win, even against Memphis, as much as Memphis is struggling, that's a different stratosphere team to me. And certainly against Golden State, I think that's another like rollover spot where it's like, all right, well, we got our win. We saved our season. Good job, Nico Harrison. Pat yourself on the back. You got to play and win. So to me, I'm not probably playing much on this Wednesday night game. I don't mind if Dallas wins because I think it's a nice spot to fade Dallas in the next game if we get there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting spot, especially we'll have to see what the score looks like in this Golden State and Memphis game, because it could be like if it's a blowout or who knows what, but either way, you're coming into that game at a rest disadvantage as well. So it's pretty significant. And then you're going to be lambasted by the 1 seed. That's just the way it's going to go. So let's dive into the games that we do know right now, because we do have a number of series that are pretty compelling. We had obviously talked offline, and I know you were a little upset about how the Western Conference bracket kind of unfolded. Your Golden State Warriors fell into the play-in tournament, but this is I think there are a lot of really interesting matchups so far, especially in the Western Conference. The first one that I want to talk about is the Lakers versus the Timberwolves, because obviously we have to talk about Luka Doncic, what he's going to do to this Timberwolves team. There was the shot over Rudy Gobert last season. It was electric. I don't even know if we're going to see that this year. We have to see, there's a number of different things going on, the number of different narratives. Obviously, the Lakers have this completely revamped roster. They have basically no bigs. And then when you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, you no longer have Karl Anthony Towns. Conley's a year older, but you do have Dante DiVincenzo, who was an incredible playoff performer last year for the Knicks. And then you have Julius Randle, who has some playoff demons to exorcise, right? So
Julius Randle could do a little exercising too if I had my druthers.
Could be both. Could be both. So, as your other like North Midwestern team here, what do you think about Minnesota's chances here? I know you were a little upset about the way this bracket unfolded.
Yeah.
What was your initial thought when you saw Lakers Wolves?
Yeah, I mean, as a Timberwolves quote unquote fan, that's actually a Warriors fan. The Warriors loss is kind of a worst case scenario because I wanted Steph, LeBron, I wanted Warriors Lakers. I thought that was a really nice matchup that the Warriors could get. I am not high on this Lakers team. I really don't feel like the profile has matched at all the perception of what they're supposed to be. So instead, you get the Timberwolves playing the Lakers. Well, the Lakers are Minnesota's team. LA
Yeah.
stole them from Minnesota all those years ago. Like this, the Timberwolves are like the little brother that thinks the Lakers are the rivals, except the Lakers are like, what? You're not our rivals. We don't care about you. So like, I'm interested by that. At first, I was like, oh no, like as a Minnesota sports fan, the Twins finally have a good year in baseball, make the playoffs. And I was like, oh, who are you playing? Oh, the Yankees, the team that we've lost like 20 of the last 21 playoff games to. Cool. Thanks for that. Good playoffs, good year, everybody. Like, they're just some teams that Minnesota loses to all the time. Minnesota sports fans will feel that way about drawing the Lakers here. Anthony Edwards is not going to feel that way. And as I've
No.
thought a little bit more about it, like, it's clear that last year that team took personally the Nuggets matchup. Like, they were excited to play with a chip on their shoulder of like, oh, you don't think that we can show up against these guys? Well, let me show you what we got here. Now, I don't know that I believe that about Gobert, about Randall, but I do believe it about Ant. And I think that the Timberwolves are not only alive, I think they're just the better team here. If you look at the Lakers and you get the gold and the purple, and you get Doncic and James on the jerseys, and it's like, all right, well, what are we doing here? Like, though we already know how that's going to go. But I think if you dig into the numbers, and we don't have a lot of numbers with the Lakers, so maybe that's dangerous, but the eye test and what you think the Lakers should be has not borne out really at any point in the metrics. Like, since they traded for Luka, they're below average offense and defense. They're a negative net rating for the season since Luka joined the lineup. I think the Timberwolves actually are better offense and defense so far in this same stretch with them. Timberwolves have cut their fouls down this year. That's good against the Lakers, who are going to have a generational free throw whistle in the playoffs. Timberwolves are good 2-point defense. That's where LA wants to get their shots up. The Timberwolves force a lot of turnovers. Lakers turn it over a lot, turn it over more with Luka than they did before. I think if Matt Moore and I talked about this on Buckets, Matt's going to always go on the matchup stuff. And on the matchups, I was like, okay, who guards Luka and what's going to happen with this and that? Like, I don't have the answers to all that. Chris Finch can find answers for that stuff. Big picture, I think there's a lot of reason to believe that the Timberwolves are the better team, and maybe like by some margin. They made a big bet this offseason to trade in some defense for offense. Last year, I was skeptical about this team. They're the number one defense, but the 16th offense. This year, they're more like just inside the top 10 at both of those. I think that's a better strategy. I think that's a more sound team, a more balanced team. They bet on threes math. They're going to win a lot of threes math in this game. They're going to get up way more threes, and they're going to stop the Lakers from getting threes up. I think that they are the better team here. I'm going to take the Timberwolves. I'm going to take them on the series spread. So Wolves -1.5. So I'm taking Wolves in 6
You're getting a number.
It's plus 300, because here's the reason. It's like plus 160 or something.
Yeah.
I forget the actual
Depends
series
on the book.
price.
Yeah.
I'm just
floating
giving
around
up.
there.
I don't need Wolves in 7. Wolves in 7 is, oh, we're going to LA with Luka and LeBron at home with the whistle. No thanks. Don't need it. Don't need that in my portfolio. I'd rather take the price here. Plus 300. Is there a 25% chance the Timberwolves can be the better team and take care of the series? And I think that there is a good chance of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. I think they're good. I think that we had that. I feel like I'm doing the Bill Simmons thing where I'm like the vibes, right? But like Anthony, like when they did the starting 5 thing, and there was the clip where LeBron's like talking, he's like, maybe if there was somebody else with like an engine, blah blah, and then there's that cut scene to Anthony Edwards' Lamborghini just like firing up, and like I think Ant is ready for this type of moment. I think the question is going to be, how does he respond to what I think LA is going to throw at them? And I have a number of different kind of ideas for what I think is going to happen. I feel like Mike Conley is going to get his ass played right off the court. Like, I don't think that he is playable in this series because of the defense. I think that there are too many, like, there's just going to be too many opportunities to put him in switchable actions if he's on the floor. The Lakers have way too much size, especially. I think that it's not so much that he's not fast enough, because I think that the Lakers are a little bit of a slower team. They're more of like a power team with that one-on-one. But I think that he's going to be switched on, where, you know, you're going to see Luka and LeBron putting Conley in the fucking pick and roll, and it's going to be hell. And like, that's not tenable. Whereas I think Dante DiVincenzo could actually be playable here as the point guard between him and Anthony Edwards. So I think that DiVincenzo assists are going to be a play, especially early. I'm going to want that. And then the other thing is, I think that the Lakers are going to just basically say, anybody else can beat us except for Anthony Edwards. And we are going to blitz the fuck out of you nonstop and say, like, look, because when we watched him in the playoffs last year, the assists like went through the roof, but a lot of it had to do with the turnovers were popping, because it's still something that he's not 100% comfortable with in terms of like assessing and reading the defense and adjusting rapidly and making those snap decisions. So I'm going to be looking at him for a couple things. I'm going to be looking at him for his turnovers, I think, right away early in the series, because I think that that's going to be a spot that the Lakers can kind of poke at. And honestly, he might hit the turnovers regardless of what defensive scheme the Lakers throw at him, just because of the usage. So even regardless of that, right? The other thing I was looking at was his assists. He's 18-1 to be the assist leader for the series. I think the Lakers have enough players that it could get divided up between, like, Luka could have a big assist day, LeBron could have a big assist day, Reeves could maybe have a big assist day, and it kind of like never coalesces around one player. Whereas if that's an effective strategy, I think even if the Minnesota Timberwolves are performing well, I think that the Lakers are still going to just be like, whatever. Like, I think it's going to frustrate the hell out of Ant. And, you know, he might put up some monster assist games where he's like 10, 11, 12, but he's scoring under 20. And I think that would be more tenable for the Lakers than Ant going for like 40 points just because of the momentum. But that was one of the thoughts that I had for that series.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I would look for a spot to maybe play Luka for point series leader along a similar line of thought. Like, maybe Ant has a big game one scoring wise, and then you get a better price on Luka. To me, Luka's going to get his points. And I actually think that that's a good strategy for Minnesota. I don't know that Minnesota has an answer who defends Luka. I do think the Timberwolves can defend LeBron. They did quite well against him in the season.
Randall, I think
they can handle
him, yeah.
They can handle Reeves just fine, I think, with the defensive personnel. If I'm Minnesota, if I can reduce you to, go ahead, Luka, you beat us by yourself, I don't mind that outcome as Minnesota. I think I can live with that and try to just have my defense hold up against one man and then have my offense do the thing. The problem is you might just get Luka versus Ant, and then if you have to favor Luka there, I think Ant could have a 40, but might have like a 12 some game. So if you can get like a high off of an Ant and then buy in on the Luka points, I don't mind that. And then not to steal your thunder, but you were there with DiVincenzo. You talked about like getting some assists. I know you love the threes as well. That was the one series prop that I had, is just DiVincenzo. I think there's still a 16-1 on threes.
There's a 20-1. I was going to get to this. So
okay,
I gave him out at 19.
Yours. You do it.
Yeah. So I gave him out at 19-1 on FanDuel to the huddle. And then I think DraftKings then finally popped and there's a 20-1. So I obviously like that, but I just think he's going to get a ton of minutes, and I don't think like he's somebody that can shoot a ton of threes, whether it's spot up or on his own. So I just think it's a good opportunity to fade.
He's a play at his usual minutes against Luka and Ant anyways, because there's enough volume there to contend. So if you bump the volume even by 5 minutes, now he's right there with those guys. So that's just a bad number.
All right, cool. So I'm glad you like that. And then the other one, here's a couple others that I'll throw off of you, because I know you like the Luka points. MGM does the dumbest thing every year, and they literally just release these points per game, assists per game stats at their season averages. What do you think, you want to know what Luka's points per game was for the playoffs?
Oh, man, it should be something approaching or in the 30s, but I'm guessing it was not.
27.9.
What are we doing?
So
this is for a playoff average, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Playoff average, the entire playoffs. So I bet that over. And then the other one, Turvey really found this one, but like we both bet it. Austin Reeves under 5.5 assists, 5.8 assists per game.
Hmm.
Like he's averaging 4.4 with LeBron and Luka. So it's just, I think there's going to be more minutes with both of them on the
Sure.
floor. So, or like at least he's not going to have as many minutes where it's only him. I think that's a tougher number to get to and it's also for the whole playoffs. So I think that's a little bit of a high number. The last one that I wanted to run by you is for this series anyway. Do you think Rudy Gobert can get played off the floor?
Yeah, I thought I trying to figure this out because part of my cap on why I think the Timberwolves are at least live in the series and maybe even can win it is it's pretty clear to me if you kind of do the player hierarchy in a series. I love to do that to say, okay, we're starting a game of pickup. Who you got? It's LeBron, Ant, and Luka are the top three, not in that order. You can figure out the order. Reeves is fourth. I think Minnesota has the next six guys down the list. I don't know what order they are, but there's a whole bunch of Timberwolves that are next. However, that includes Mike Conley. Can Mike Conley play in the series? Because otherwise he doesn't count. That includes Julius Randle. Can Julius Randle play in the playoffs? Because otherwise that doesn't count. And can Rudy Gobert stay in the game? The problem to me is I think theoretically Rudy could get played off the court because we've seen that like Rudy and Luka is just not a good matchup for him. The
Yeah.
problem is who's he getting played off the court for? You can't put Julius Randle at the 5. That's not going to go well. Naz Reid did not play well in the playoffs last year. Naz Reid's not going to be the answer there. Like, there's Julius Randle is the small ball option. That's death against LeBron. Like, you're just choosing your own version of death in that scenario.
Yeah.
I don't think Rudy can get played off the court because I don't think they have a different alternative that's plausible enough to go to. So I had that no, like, okay, Rudy's the blocks and rebounds favorite here. So how can we go around that? I think it's going to end up still being Rudy, even in a slightly reduced role, just because he has such a big head start, probably. But I'm
Yeah.
curious. I can tell where you're going with this. Who are you thinking here?
I played a little bit of Randall at 40-1, which I think is a bad number because
Yeah.
that's at DraftKings. Most of the market's at 15-1. Jaden McDaniels at 200-1, I think is a little interesting because if they actually go really small, he's probably like the best rebounder that they have. Like we've seen him scale up in terms of his rebounds. I think it's insane, but it's literally $1 to win 200. So like
Yeah.
I don't hate it if things go that way. I agree with you though. I was struggling to see how you replace Gobert, even if you think he's getting played off. But let's ultimately, I know you like Minnesota. I think the Lakers have like a little bit of an edge just based on the top end talent here because I think that there's a legitimate argument where you could say, well, like Ant isn't even top 2 in this series. He's maybe number
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
And
You're done, man.
I think that's definitely a concern because he's really got to play at minimum. He's got to be on par with Luka, and you never know. Like, and when the playoffs hit, LeBron just turns into like a freak of nature. So you really have to see how that's going to turn out. But let's talk about the other West series that's set in stone, and that's the Clippers versus the Nuggets. This series is fascinating because we finally have healthy Kawhi. When you like I feel like we've been dreaming about this for the last 5 seasons and now we finally get it. I think the Clippers are extremely live in this series. I think that Zubac has been incredible over the course of the season. I think that he's probably one of the few players that you can live with guarding Jokic. I think that Jokic still cooks him, but I think that you could live with it because he can cover him one-on-one. And that's half the battle because you're not double teaming him the entire game. What are your initial thoughts on the series? I know I have one series bet on this as well, besides some of the series leader stuff.
Yeah, I think the Clippers are more than live here. I think the Clippers have a chance to, like, everyone's excited about this series because we get Kawhi healthy, we've got Jokic, we got all these big names, and in theory, a full strength Nuggets and a full strength Clippers is a matchup we've been wanting for like
Yeah.
years now, and we never get to see it. I think that that's true. I think the intrigue is fair. I also think there's a chance that this tilts quickly in either direction and could be like a 5-game series. And that's the direction I'm going. I think the Clippers actually have a chance to just like steamroll right through the Nuggets. To me, the Nuggets are playing right now like a one-man team. And I know that that's slanderous, that we still have the championship roster around other than KCP. These are not the same dudes. Aaron Gordon's defense has dropped off. Jamal Murray, in particular, had a really good stretch for like 10 games around the All-Star break. He's been a very replacement level player most of the season and mostly since the big injury. And last year, I had him as my least valuable player in the playoffs, which hurts because I love Jamal Murray. I thought he actively cost them at least a spot in the finals and possibly a chance to win. You don't win playoff series and make runs in the NBA with one star, no matter how good the one star is. And Jokic obviously fits that. But that's true of Michael Jordan. in the 80s years. That's true of LeBron in the early Cavs stint. That's true of Kareem in the 70s. You can be among the best players ever and still not be good enough if your teammates are contributing. So there's this weird small sample size thing we've got with both these teams. Nuggets, January 1 to All-Star break, are the best team in the league. They're the number one offense in the league. They go way up. That's the Jamal Murray hot stretch there. Since then, they dropped down to a 500 team, 9th offense, 23rd defense, 19th in net rating. Their EFG is fading. They fire Michael Malone. Their fouls are going up. Their turnovers are up. So which version counts? Well, before January 1st was more of what it's been recently. So to me, I don't know if we can count on that small sample Nuggets. Okay, how about the Clippers? March 15th forward. The Clippers are the best team in the NBA. They're 13-2 with a plus 15 net rating. They're the number one offense now. So we have both these teams have been the number one offense in the NBA. Okay, well, does that check out? Yeah, because Kawhi Leonard is back, and he's Kawhi Leonard again. And he's playing like he's an 8.0 BPM in the stretch,
Yeah,
box
he's
plus
awesome.
minus. And importantly, his return in playing that well has made James Harden suddenly look really, really good too, and made him like 3 times the player he had been. I don't know how long that can sustain. I don't trust it to sustain for very long. I do trust it to be what it is right now until it changes. And that could change on any play at any time, because the moment Kawhi Leonard gets like a bruised quad or in anything, I'm out. Like, I cannot be out fast enough on the Clippers. But for right now, I already know I'm pretty much out on the Nuggets. I'm suspicious of both, but I can at least buy the Clippers for now. So I'm taking Clippers. They're minus 105 in the series, but I'm going to play more aggressively too, because if I'm right about the Clippers, I want to be right early. So I'm going to play Clippers in 5 and Clippers in 4. Clippers in 5 at BetMGM is 9-1. Clippers sweep is 18-1. I think those are pretty bad prices there. That's a better angle than playing the Clippers minus 2.5 alt line. You're getting like a plus 550 playing those two together. And I think too, if you like this idea, Clippers game 1 plus series, that combo play at 3-1. Again, it's not like this is, I want Kawhi while he's still Kawhi. And I don't know how long I get it. And the longer the series goes, the more chance Kawhi got hurt along the way, and the more chance Jokic is just doing Jokic things, and maybe Jamal found himself. I'm not super confident that the Clippers are a good team. I'm not taking any long-term futures on them, but I think in this matchup, the Nuggets are very vulnerable. And right now, at the moment, for like another week, the Clippers maybe are a much better team.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because the Clippers opened at like plus 140 on the series, and now they're favored at a lot of books. So they've been taking some significant action. And I gave this out last week. I gave out the Clippers to make the Western Conference Finals at plus like 570. So we're sitting really good on that ticket. I'm not going to add anything from a series perspective here, but I did like over 5.5 games, in large part because I just think Jokic can win 2 games on his own. And I think that on the flip side, I think Harden and Kawhi can win 2 games on their own. And Norman Powell's looked great as well. So like I just looked at this and I said, I think that the Clippers are the hotter team right now, but at the same time, I think that there are some questions here. It also, I think, helps for this bet that the team that I have the questions about, which is Denver right now, is the home team. So
Agreed.
Denver is going to get those first games at home. I know that the Clippers getting that this week off was critical for them. I think, especially with the injuries that they have and everything else, I think that was a very important week off to get. It wouldn't shock me if they win game 1, but winning game 2 at altitude with Denver knowing that that's really a must-win game, I think becomes a little bit more difficult. So
yeah.
I like Denver to, or I really like both these teams to make this a competitive series. So I went over 5.5 games. I also grabbed 2 series leader bets here. Norman Powell at plus 550 and Jokic at 2,500 to lead the series in threes. Norm is at almost 5 per game against Denver this season, and Jokic is almost at like 3. I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities against Zubac with the drop coverage that he's probably going to play.
Yeah, I was looking for a threes leader here. I had Jamal Murray written down and was like, not enough volume there for me. I don't mind playing that with my Clippers play, just as like, well, how am I wrong here? Maybe because Jamal just hit a lot of shots and got really good. So that one's 10-1. I looked at Kawhi steals plus 275. He's averaging 2 steals a game in the playoffs, which, as we know from Dyson Daniels hype this year, like nobody averages 2. That's a lot of steals. So he's averaged that basically for a decade now. The problem is that steals are volatile, and so is Kawhi. And so, like, what if you suddenly get to game 5 with the lead and Kawhi gets injured, misses the last 2 or something. So not sure I need that at plus 275. So maybe one to keep in your back pocket if he has like none in game 1 and now you get like a 6-1 or something on it. So I kind of looked at that. One I looked at here, I'm curious what you thought. I bounced this off of Matt Moore on our podcast. Jokic is minus 110 to lead in rebounds. And first glance, I was like, come on. You're giving me Jokic against the field? Like, that's an easy bet. Zubac had 13 rebounds and 15 rebounds in the 2 Jokic games. So I'm not so sure if I need that one. What do you think?
I don't think you need it. And honestly, I think the better bet right now, I have to see if it's popped anywhere else, but I'm concerned because I think the series is going to be long. So I don't love this play, but I think this is kind of the right angle. Zoo to record 10 or more rebounds in every game is 4-1 at MGM. If you think this is a short series, then I think that's a great play because you're basically like his rebound line's been like 11.5 every game. So if not 12.5. So you're getting him at 10. It's a number he's clearing with ease this season. So I think if you think it's a shorter series, that's not a bad play, but it loses value exponentially once you hit like 6 and 7 games with those like each game of the series bets. But that was one of the things I was looking at. Let's look at the Eastern Conference right now, though. So you guys know I got plenty of thoughts on the Knicks, but we've got the Pistons versus the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to roll. I'm biased as hell. What do you think? Because I know you are our resident Knicks hater here.
I don't know how I got that. Like, I enjoy the Knicks. I'm happy that the Knicks are good in the playoffs again. The playoffs are better when MSG is rocking and Jalen Brunson's fun. You know, I'm not going to root for Cat because for reasons, but
Yeah,
like, I'm happy that the like Knicks Celtics would be a fun series if the Knicks can actually do the thing they're supposed to do. I would enjoy watching that.
yeah,
I was surprised digging into the numbers. I think that the Pistons are every bit as good as the Knicks right now for where they're at because since January 1, Detroit is 30-19 with the number 3 defense in the NBA. They're 6th in net rating in that stretch. They were 14-18 before that, and they were 20th on defense. They jumped from 20th to 3rd, mostly because they jumped from 26th to 2nd in effective field goal percentage. So does that check out? Okay, it does check out for me because Jalen Duren made a huge leap. Jalen Duren is absolutely balling if he can stay on the court, which could be an issue, but when he's out there, really good. Asar Thompson missed the start of the season, played like crap for 14 games, like a rookie, basically, and then took a huge leap and has been like not so much worse than Amen Thompson. And then Cade, I think, took another mini leap during the stretch too. So, okay, JB Bickerstaff takes over a new team, takes a few months to figure out what you're doing. Now you found your defensive identity. Now your 3 young guys are taking a leap together. That checks out narrative-wise to me. And in the same stretch, New York starts 32-16 through January with the number 2 offense, number 4 net rating. Since then, 18-15, below average offense and defense, 19th in net rating. Now look, you're a Knicks fan, you know this as much as I do. Jalen Brunson missed a bunch of games. He missed 15 games on that stretch. Yeah. Obviously, that's why the offense cratered, but they were 8-6 with him with a -5 net rating before he got injured in there. I don't think it's just Brunson. I think the Kitty Moon is over. Cat was really, really good early in the season. I thought clearly New York's best player when the offense was so good. He's really fallen off. A lot of the numbers are down. I thought Josh Hart was a near all-star at All-Star break. He's back to Josh Hart now. We'll see in the playoffs. Maybe he'll be back to All-Star Josh Hart. I don't know that the Knicks are as bad as they've looked recently, but I don't think that they're as good as they looked in the fall either. And I think Detroit is going to bully them in some ways. I think Cat in particular, I think this is going to be a really tough matchup. I have seen way too much Cat in my life to know that he is going to face Duren and Stewart getting into him, and he's going to pick up fouls, and he's going to, like, as a Knicks fan, I'm just telling you, emotionally prepare yourself. Like, it's going to be a rough one. There's going to be some rough games, and you'll be like, come on, Cat. Like, and now there's not a lot of other options out there. So to me, I definitely don't think the Pistons are the better team. I do think these teams are pretty close, and I would favor the Knicks because the Knicks are the home team. But I would only slightly favor the Knicks. Raheem Palmer and Matt and I are talking. He asked me to pick my price. Before I looked at the pricing, I would price this just myself. Like, I'm not offering this to anyone. I would make it Pistons plus 140. So, of course, I'm playing the Pistons here because here's my escalator.
They're like 3-1.
Yeah, it's plus 360 at FanDuel. So
yeah,
I don't know that I think the Pistons are going to win. I'm not telling you they're going to win. I'm telling you plus 360 is a bad number, and you should play the plus 360 if I'm even close to right. Over 5.5 games is the start of my escalator because I think it's a long series. I hope it's a long series. Like, I want to watch this series. I'm excited about this one. So over 5.5, Pistons plus 360 to win it if it goes long. And then BetMGM is hanging an 11-1 on Pistons in 6. Like, that's the way Pistons win. I don't need to go win an MSG in game
They're not
7.
gonna, if it goes to 7, they're not going to win in the Garden. Like, it's
Right.
it's not going to happen. Yeah.
MGM is pricing 7 shorter odds than in 6, which makes no sense to me for Detroit. So that's the escalator. I still would pick the Knicks to win the series. I think it's going to be close, though, and I think we're going to get a lot of close, tough games. I think that Detroit is very much live in the series, so we'll see.
I was a little surprised to see the number. I think in part it's because they know there's going to be a lot of New York money. And
yeah, that's true.
I think that the other thing is there was a lot of chatter about Detroit, right? And I think that I'm surprised to a degree because there are a lot of people that are, I think, agreeing with you in terms of what the number is, and the number's not moving. Like, people are saying Detroit, 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 like they're live here, and the number's not moving like at all. The Knicks are just firmly like entrenched at this like minus 400 number. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that if you look on paper, I don't really think it's all that close, like talent wise, but
Agreed.
that's talent, talent's got to show up. And that's one of the things about the Knicks. You look at it and you go, they're better. They're on paper better than last year, and they won one more game after all that. So definitely some concerns there. I do have some props though that I like here for the Knicks. Number one, Jalen Brunson over 26.1 points per game, just for the whole playoffs.
Another ridiculous number.
Just insane. Like, so I was like, yeah, sign me up. Then also I liked two things. This is a player prop for game 1, Malik Beasley over 13.5 points. And then I'm going to also tie that in with Malik Beasley threes leader minus 125 on FanDuel. I think the Knicks just don't take a ton of threes. The player that in theory should be the best 3-point shooter on the Knicks in this series, I think, is Cat. And they just refuse to he just refuses to shoot. They like aren't finding him. Like, there's been plenty of opportunities for him to pick and pop against, like, over the last 2 months, and they're just not finding him on these opportunities. So I think Malik Beasley is the exact type of player that gets loose against the Knicks because they tend to overhelp. Even though he went under this line the last time he played the Knicks, he only scored 10 points. The other 2 games, I think he made 5 and 7 threes. And there's just really nobody on New York that's going to put up those types of numbers consistently. And the Knicks, because they overhelp, they leave this like knockdown sharpshooter open. They always get open. It's Malik Beasley, the DeAndre Hunters, like those types of players get loose against the Knicks. And I think he's going to crush in this series from 3-point range.
Yeah, I actually had Beasley at Bet365, had him as a minus 200. And I had that in my notes as like a pretty decent play anyways. Minus 125 is a terrible number. That's definitely a play for me. I had that as a like, well, wait, and maybe we'll get a bad game 1 and bet it later. But minus 125 is no reason to wait. I agree. The Knicks allow a lot of 3-pointers up. I wish I could bet turnovers leader for the series because I would take Cat, whatever the number is for Cat. He had 6 and 7 turnovers the last 2 games against Detroit. Now, I think that was partly one of those, at least maybe without Brunson. So hopefully a little bit less handling from Cat. But again, I think he's going to get bullied, and Cat loves to turn it over. Like,
a lot of offensive fouls.
Yeah, offensive fouls and those like post-up passes 5 rows into the stands. I know there's some Cat hate here in me, but the turnovers, like game to game, playing the overs. The last thing I was going to add too, Tibbs has coached in 9 playoffs in his career. He has been eliminated by a worse seed 6 of the 9 times in the playoffs,
That's
including
crazy.
He's lost to a 5 seed, a 5 seed, a 6, an 8, and an 8. That's a lot of bad seeds to lose to. Now, granted, there's some explanations. Like, one of those 8 seeds is the year Derrick Rose got hurt. Fine, you should still beat the 8 seed. One of those 8 seeds was the Heat a couple years ago. Your Knicks lucked into it. They beat the Cavs, they beat the Heat. You got to win that series. And again, I know there's injuries. There's stuff for everything. You can't lose to 5, 5, 6, 8, and 8 seeds. So I think that Tibbs, the pressure is all on New York in the series. And the longer the series goes, if I'm right about it being long, the pressure only ramps up on the Knicks. And like, we're going to start having the national, like, is Tibbs getting fired if they lose the series? And you better believe he is.
Yeah,
because you can't have all that talent and not find offense with these guys.
I would think so. And the only other thing that I'm looking for, I want to bet Mitchell Robinson rebounds leader on the series. I think he's very playable in this spot against these bigs that Detroit has, especially with Asar Thompson playing extended minutes too. I think you're going to need a little bit more size, a little bit more rim protection in this spot. So let's look at the last series that we know for sure is happening, and that's the Pacers versus the Bucks. I gave this out last time we were here. I said Pacers to advance to the semifinals is minus 152. It was a must bet because I like them against both Milwaukee and Detroit. Now we're looking at minus 200 on the series price, so I feel great about giving that out. Do you have a thought here? Because I think Indiana is like an exponentially better team than Milwaukee right now, especially with no Damian Lillard.
I agree. I don't think this is super close. We loved Indiana last year playing Milwaukee. It's different teams now, but I still think Indiana's just a much better team. You get lucky that you get the injuries both years in the Pacers case, but my bet is I'm going to take Pacers in 5, Pacers in 6, and split my bet between those. Last I checked, Pacers in 5 was plus 410. Pacers in 6 was plus 525. So getting a plus 181. Basically, I'm giving up the sweep. I'm going to give Giannis a game at least. I'm giving up the 7 because I don't think the Bucks are good enough to get us to 7. And frankly, if we go deep, maybe Dame came back. Like if the series went that long, maybe I'm not feeling so great anymore about what I thought with the Pacers anyway. So yeah, the Pacers offense, I think, is clearly the better offense of the two, even though they're not as good as they were last year. Halliburton, January 1st forward, 138 offensive rating on the court with almost 9 BPM. Like he is an MVP ballot worthy player now that he is healthy again. And this offense, I think, is going to find a lot of easy points. I'm not so sure that the Bucks are going to find as many easy points. I know they were really good late without Dame, but to me, that's a small sample that doesn't check out. Really soft schedule. They were top 2 EFG, free throw rate, and turnovers. That doesn't check out for me. Like, I look at the team, I look at the guys playing. I know Giannis surrounded by shooters. That's a good thing, but that's just shooters getting hot against bad teams. I do like Doc Rivers shorthanded, like undermanned in a setting. Like he's done well with that in Clippers situations, but it's Rick Carlisle. Like whatever version of Doc Rivers, you don't want him against Rick Carlisle here. So you're not going to sneak one through on coaching. I just don't really find a path here for Milwaukee unless Dame comes back and is Dame again. And I'm not sure we're going to get a chance to see that. So I like the Pacers a lot. I honestly think this is going to hurt your feelings a little bit. I think the Pacers and the Knicks body swapped in midseason. I think the Pacers are the 3 seed in the East. And I think they're closer to 2 than they are to 4. And Indiana, I think, is set up not just to win one game or one series. I think they're going to have a real shot against the Cavs to make it back to another conference finals. So I don't mind like a plus 460 to make it there. I think you probably can just bet them now and then roll it over against Cleveland because we'll probably get a good enough price for that later.
Yeah, and you don't want like a situation where Halliburton gets hurt or something like that. The hamstring flares up, whatever. Dude, there's a couple things that I liked in this spot. Honest, I hate these. Like I said, I hate these to score in every game. Him to score 30 points in every game is plus 1150. If you think this I think this could like not be a sweep. And he hits that. I think that the number is just like kind of a bad number because he's just going to have to put up numbers. It's also 50 to score 50 in any game is plus 350. These are both on MGM. There's another one on ESPN. Any player in the series to average a triple double is 70-1. Without Dame, I don't think it's insane for Giannis to average a triple double because he could put up 10.
He's averaged 8.6 assists a game without Dame. And obviously he's going to have the points and the rebound. So that's the only stat you need.
Exactly. So I think that as long you're basically betting on him to average 10 assists a game because the rest of it's going to be there. So I think that that's worth a little bit of a sprinkle at 70-1. I know you have a threes leader that you like in this series. There is a number for it. So I don't know if you know it, but you can tell the name and I will tell you the number.
I think you're thinking of a different guy that I'm going to say. I'm going to chime in on Giannis. If you can find a Giannis points leader, I gave it out at minus 220. I legit think it should be like minus 1,000 or something. I know it's been going up at books now.
I'm seeing like minus 400, I think.
I still honestly don't mind it there, but figured it's worth mentioning. If you can, like, I'm rarely going to play a minus 220. But that was just like a free money. As long as Giannis doesn't get hurt, that's cashing. He could even miss a game and you're probably still going to cash that. Hey, there we go. Got the podcast name in there. I think you're thinking of KPJ on threes. I like Miles Turner on threes here, actually.
Okay.
He's averaged 7 attempts a game against the Bucks. He averaged 3 makes on 6.9 in the playoffs against them last year. So I like him a little better. I like KPJ more for steals personally. Last 4 games, tiny sample, but 4 games, he played 28 minutes. They're going to have to play somebody. It's not Ryan Rollins. He averaged 3.5 steals a game in that little stretch. So yeah, to me, threes and steals, of course, are going to be like really volatile markets where you can, have one bad game and one big game and jump in. Yep. KPJ was plus 550 and Turner was plus 600 on the threes. That's not quite
Turner's
juicy
11
enough.
to 1. 11 to
Okay.
1.
I was
And
gonna say 6 to
on
1 wasn't enough
FanDuel.
for me to get too excited. 11 to 1 I'll play. 6 to 1 I was gonna be like, let me wait after a game and maybe I'll jump in. I'll play the 11.
Yeah, I mean it's Halliburton's plus 110, and then the next closest is Gary Trent Jr. is 10 to 1, Turner's 11 to 1, and then Kevin Porter Jr. is all the way down at 32 to 1. So not insane there either, but I do think the 11 to 1 on Turner I think is a decent shot there for us. And then we do have some clarity right now. The Magic are going to win. Are they going to
Boy,
win
do we.
a game? Here's the question, because I know we got to get you out of here to watch this game, but
Yeah.
what do the Magic win a game?
I think it's the Celtics. So the Celtics give away a game. I'm glad the Magic play the Celtics. I think that is as a viewer and as a fan, I'd like to see that series. I'd like to see Paolo and Franz play against a really good team. And I'd like to see the Celtics pushed a little bit, which none of the other options were going to do here. So I think this is a good outcome for us. Last year in the playoffs, I made a living betting Celtics minus 1.5 on the series line. Like, I'm giving an extra game back, just Celtics to win in 6 or less. We know they're going to screw around in the game. I'm even giving them an extra game if they need to, the shot variance game or whatever. They're going to win the series, and it's not going to go to 7. It's going to be like minus 300 or 400 or whatever. I don't care. I bet it and just kept rolling it over last year until it wasn't good anymore. And it never went not good last year. So to me, that's probably where I'm going to start when I see the lines pop for this one. Magic 32-17 in the first quarter tonight, 35-14 in the fourth quarter right now as we're watching, not quite finishing up yet. They play like this, they can certainly win a game. Yeah, what pops to you? Do you think they win a game, and is there prop angles that you have in mind?
Yeah, I think that the Orlando could maybe win a game, but I'm going to be on Tatum over 8.7 rebounds per game for the playoffs. He just is a rebounding machine in the
All goes
playoffs.
up.
And then, so that's what I'm on. And the only other series leader, or not series leader, but other spot that I like is Donovan Mitchell over 24 points per game for the entire postseason. I just think that number's insane. So I think that maybe for series leader, it just all depends on the price. That's really the biggest thing with these markets. It depends on the price. It depends on where, kind of what we see. But I might do another episode. We'll see kind of as these numbers come out and as these games come to solidify, but we'll see. But Brandon, I know we squeezed you in here, so I'm glad that you could come to talk about these 4 series with that little sprinkle on Celtics Magic. Any parting thoughts before we get you out of here?
Here's my pods and Rex. Last time I was on, I think maybe it was a couple times ago, I told you my life sage advice: get a girlfriend. My advice is keep a girlfriend. She's still great. We're doing great. I'll try to find some time with her in between all the basketball coming soon.
Yay. You gotta do your best Jaylen Brown impression over there. So you're having a good time with it. But yeah, so for me, Pods and Rex, just spend some time outside, put up a fence, call it a day. The weather's getting nicer, and then find a tailor because I need one so badly right now. But hey, Brandon, thanks for coming on. Once again, this episode was brought to you by our good friends at Rhythm, the #1 AI betting tool in the market. Get it for free for a week down here in the bio, and be sure to like, rate, and subscribe as we continue to give you these bets so that way you can cash that.